Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody is doing fantastic. Welcome back to the channel and another video. I'm so glad you're here. Listen, we're going to continue our conversation looking at who is God. I hope that you've caught the previous 3 videos to be caught up on our discussion today, because we're really going to start looking at what does the character of God look like, right? Let's just assume for a second, considering those who have never heard of God, never believed that there is a God. Let's look at some of these things to really get a picture of who this God could be or is, right? So let's just assume that God is real, that there is a God, right? We have to be able to give some level of character to this God that would make him God, right? When we think of God, or when you think of God, what is it that you think of? What are some characteristics that draw up to your mind that allow you to really get a picture of who this God could be if he is real? So I really want you to think on those things. And as we're conversating, as we're looking at this, I really want you to see if some of the characteristics that I spit out to you match up with what you originally thought, right? So the first thing that I really want to look at just in this video alone is that for God to be God, let's just again assume that there is a real God. For there to be a real God, he must be the highest being, okay? Not the higher, but the highest, okay? The highest being. So that means that there is no one outside of God that is greater than God or as great as God. Okay, so God is the highest being. Remember, when we first opened up this series, we understood that God has to be eternal, spiritual, right, and unlimited. Okay, compared to who we are, we're limited people. We're human beings. We have understanding that we do have soul and spirit. That's what makes us humans. And we back it up with scripture text looking at Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, with God breathing life into his created man, that allowed the heart to start pumping, the body to start functioning, understanding from that scripture that we're spiritual beings, but we can get into that another time. But looking at this conversation, right? God is the highest being. There's no one simply greater than God, right? So this, again, if you remember last video, we made the comment that humans are not gods, right? If you've heard that conversation, if you've heard that talk, if you've heard people post on TikTok and social medias describing themselves to be gods, this simply cannot and is not true, right? And let's understand why. Because to get the right depiction of who God is, God has to be greater than who we are. Right? No matter what race you are or ethnicity you are, no matter what background you come from or the environment that you're in right now, the lifestyle you live right now, no matter what job, what payroll, how much money you get, we all are similar to one another in the sense that we're all limited. Right? So for God to be God, there's so many things that we have to take apart and look at to understand that it's what makes his character so great, right? Is that it's distinguished from us, which is his creation. Okay, so for God to be God, he has to be greater than us on every sense, every term of the word great, every level. So God is always greater than us. So there's God, and then there's his creation, not God, and then within creation is God, or God is in his creation, or anything of that sort. But God is greater. God's the highest being. So no one created him. No one comes close to him. No one is as great as him. Okay, so he's greater in his way of thinking. Okay, scripture tells us that his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. So basically his thoughts are greater, his ways are greater, right? We understand also that he's unlimited. Again, we're looking at him being unlimited, so we're limited. So that tells us that he's greater as well. Then we get into him being omniscient, meaning he's everywhere, or omniscient meaning all knowing. Omnipresent means he's everywhere, right? Omnipotent meaning he's all powerful. So these things constitute who God is. And none of us, no matter how many books you've read and how many classes you've taken, how many degrees you have, there is still so much in all your years of living that you yourself don't know, that I don't know, and that we may never know, because we're limited, and we are built and wired with a capacity. So please understand that humans in no shape or form can be gods. Because no matter where we come from, our background, our color, our race, our ethnicity, no matter, we are all limited in what we learn and what we know and what we can do and where we can be and all of these things, right? We are very, very limited creatures and creation, but God is unlimited and the highest being. Okay, the highest being there is. No one's outside of him. No one created him. No one's there, and there can't be multiple, right? There can't be multiple. He's one of a kind. There's only one, not multiple. And he's simply unlimited everywhere, all knowing, all powerful, and he's simply the highest being. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm hoping that you're grasping these conversations, these things, continue wrestling with them, continue considering some questions, and I cannot wait to see you again shortly. But until then, peace.